Hey everybody, what's up? All right, let's get this going here. I think for once I actually have all my gear set up right. Turn the monitor down. All my cameras actually work tonight. Well, my only camera, I should say. I have two, but I haven't figured out how to put both of them on the screen yet, but we'll get to that at some point. All right. Let's see here. Top one thing here. We're going to do modes tonight, everybody. All right, there we go. Okay, now we are good to go. So we're going to do modes. Kind of looking here, it just actually popped up on YouTube because it's on a delay from what I see. Grab the old pick out of the pocket. All right, so modes is one of those things that every guitar player knows they need to know, but we don't all know them. I'm sure we all had the Mel Bay book when we were kids that showed you your first. We'll do A minor. We'll do A major. So they always showed you your mode. You know, A is your first. You know, your second mode would move up to here, and you would do a completely different finger progression to learn, and that made it almost unbearable at times. But so a lot of people didn't really learn the modes and didn't see the point. But there's a whole lot of things you can do with modes. Um, your mode with your major scale and your modes, that will tell you every lead you can play in there. It'll tell you every chord that you're going to play within that key. Now, are there some instances where you'll play different chords? Yes, there are key changes, but this is kind of like your base, what you need to know. It's the very basic. If you're doing anything, you have to have a base in it. And if you're making spaghetti, you got to have noodles, you got to have sauce, and you got to have Parmesan cheese. Just for me. Can you add more to that? Yes, but can you get by with just that? Yeah, but like I say, you can add, flat thirds and this and that, many different things in there. But for the most part, we're going to stick to a straight A major scale tonight. I hope it's not dragging on your all's end. My end, it looks like it's dragging, but my poor computer may be getting full at this point. Thanks to all you guys who have subscribed. I really do appreciate it. Anybody seen it for the first time, if you have not ever been on the channel, pretty much I'm not trying to teach you to be Yngwie Malmsteen or Steve Vai or any of that. I am, and proud to say, what many people would call a weekend warrior. I work a job all week long, and then I go play music on the weekends, which any of you guys who do that know it does not leave a lot of time for practice. So you got to get it in where you can, and that's kind of what this channel's for. I want to show you something every week that you don't have to spend 2 hours a day on just to be able to learn something. You can take one of these modes that we're going to talk about tonight and play it for 10 minutes. And then the next day, grab your guitar, play it for 10 minutes, because I know you got work, You're probably cooking supper because your wife probably has to go work too, if you haven't chased her off being a musician, because that does happen. It's hard being a musician. It's harder being a musician's wife sometimes, I guess. But, so, I'm just trying to break it down into bite-sized pieces for you so you can have something to think about all week long. It's glittering. I'm not sure what it's glittering means. I hope that's good, but I don't know. Glitching, maybe. I don't know. It does look like it's glitching on my end. Hopefully it will get better. Maybe it's just internet connection. I don't know. If not, if it doesn't get better, let me know, and I will try to just restart the stream. But looks like it may be getting back to normal. Okay, so the modes. You have a mode for each chord in the scale. We talked about A major scale a few weeks ago, but just to go back real quick, the notes in your A major scale are A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then back to your A. Every one of those notes has a corresponding chord. A major for the first, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, and then you're back to your A. There is a mode that works over each one of those chords. It's always the same note. The same notes, that is. You're always playing the notes in that A major scale. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. Always the same notes. We're not ever going to change those 7 notes. But we're just going to play them in different order. If you're playing your A major scale, this is the one you probably learned, and I learned, from either your first guitar teacher or the Hal Leonard book or the Mel Bay book, or because at our age we did not learn it off of YouTube. But A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Then you can take it on up. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and your A. That's your A major scale. Lots of places you can play it. Tonight I'm pretty much going to focus on just two, I guess, positions. This would be the second position. But I'll also be playing down off of the open string. So A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So I'm going to stick to those 2 positions instead of going all over the neck. To really make these work really well and not stay in the same place all the time, learn your A scale all over the neck. I'll hit a few of those later on in the lesson, but I want to jump into the modes part of this first. Hopefully the picture's gotten better. It looks better on my end now. It's not glitching as much. We're getting crazy weather, so it could have something to do with that. I don't know. All right, let me roll this down here a little bit. There we go. Glitching, yeah. My comments are way behind, I will say that, because I'm trying to see it on my end over here. Let me try one thing here and just see if it works. But, again, let's keep in mind those notes. we're going to play those notes everywhere, but they're going to be done with it. When we're playing an A, we're pretty much going to do A. We'll play that A major. Yeah, let me see if this will help. So, an A chord. And I did bring the handy dandy little looper tonight. We'll see if that helps out. So, there's an A chord. Whoops, sorry about that. So there's an A. But that was just playing all in A right there. Turn the looper off. There's certain notes that don't sound as good when you are playing on A unless you resolve it into something else. But, so you can do a whole solo just playing out of A major, but you got to learn there's a couple of notes you need to leave out here and there. So the first mode is your major scale. It is called the Ionian mode. You'll hear people call it major or Ionian, but it's your natural major scale. If you hear somebody say Ionian, that's your scale. Second note of your scale is B. And if you remember the chord in the second of this, it is a minor, a B minor. The second mode is called the Dorian mode. And all that does, it means you start the same scale, but you started on the B note. That's it. And you end on a B note. That is your second mode. You've just played the same notes. You've just done them in a different order. There's A, B Dorian. It already sounds different because you're starting on a different note and ending on a different note. Third note, or the third note of the scale, is a C sharp, which is again a minor chord. This is called the Phrygian mode. And there again, all we're doing is starting on that note and we're playing the A scale again. Only we start and end on that C sharp. That's your Phrygian mode. The next note is the D. That's the Lydian mode. Same notes. We've not played any note outside the A major scale. They're all right there. Same thing if we go to the next. The E would be our next note. This is the Mixolydian mode. Your next one would be F sharp. So you come back here and start. And the last is your G sharp diminished. That one's a real hard one to solo in unless you actually have a G sharp diminished chord in the song. And it's one of those chords that never just totally sounds right. weird chord to use, but you will use it occasionally. But it's just that you have to resolve it to something else. You don't really ever resolve it to that G sharp. It's just very hard to do. All right, somebody tell me, is it still glitching? If it is, I'm going to drop off of here real quick, and I am just going to restart the stream. It will take me about 3 or 4 minutes. It'll take about 30 seconds before I see your response. But if the glitching's not so bad, if it's getting a little bit better, we'll just keep rolling. But there you see all those modes. You're playing the exact same notes. Exact same notes. And you can play them all within the same position. You don't have to learn a new set of fingerings all the way up the neck. Once you know your major scale, you know your 8 mode or your 7 modes because they're all right there. You're playing your 7 modes all the time. They're all there. And this makes it easier when you go into, especially if you go to play with somebody and, you know, you're doing a fill-in gig and you don't have a rhythm, you know, hopefully you have a rhythm guitar player who can always help you out. But if you don't, and somebody says, hey man, this is a 1, 2, 6. And you go, what the hell is a 1, 2, 6? It's the numbers of the scale. 1 is your A major. You know the 2 note is a B minor. And if you look at your 6, that is an F sharp minor. So the 3 chords you're going to play are and then go back to the A. 1, 2, 6. If we're playing in that progression, when you're playing in that A major, the A major scale works beautifully. It works fantastic. But when you shift to that B minor, that's where there's a couple of things that you need to do a little different to not make it sound bland. You can still get away with using your A major scale. You've just got to strategically not really play any notes unless they're falling into another. I'm just going to record this. Do this one time. All right, so with that, I'm going to start it, and I'm just going to play notes in the A major scale. And you'll notice certain notes, and I'm going to let some kind of bad notes hit in there, just so you can hear it doesn't always work just to play a straight scale. So let me just do it through this right here. It worked, but it's not going to stand out, and there's notes in there that, you know, make you almost feel uncomfortable, just because they don't quite sound right, which I've heard the advice, if you ever hit a bad note, do the same lick again, and then everybody will think you meant to do it. But whether that is true or not, I do not know. I try not to hit it again if I don't have to. So this time, when I'm playing over the A, I'm going to use my A major. When it goes to that B, I'm going to go into the Dorian mode. And the big thing to look for in these is those half steps. The half steps can really make the chord, because if you're looking at it, this is telling you everything you got to play. Like I said, the uncomfortable notes, bad, I guess. Bad notes. I don't know. They're notes that you can't just stay on them. You have to fall into another note just to make them sound right. Because there are times you can hit a chromatic note that is completely out of key, but if you resolve it right, it works. But like I said, when we're playing these, that progression, most of you probably know a chord is made up of your 1, 3, and your 5. We're doing A, 1, the 3 is a C sharp. So a C sharp will come here. Your 5 is an E. You throw that octave A on there. That's how you can find every chord in this scale, or anytime you're using the modes. When we go to B minor, you have to think now of that B as the 1. It's actually the 2 of the scale, but when you're playing there, think of it as the 1. So to find your chord, you play the 1, the 3, and the 5. If B is your 1, you know C sharp is your second note in the scale. It's a D. So find your D. There it is right there. And your 5 on a B is going to be an F sharp. There's your B minor. Lay your octave there. So anywhere in that scale, if you want to know what the note would be if you're playing F sharp, when you go to that F sharp, 1 is your F sharp, and then your 3 would be, just go up notes, 3, F sharp, A. And then your 5 is your C sharp, F sharp minor. The modes will tell you how to make every chord in the A major scale, because all you do is go to whatever mode you're going to be playing in. B minor, 1, 3, 5, that's your chord. Once you know your chord tone, it helps you a lot with your soloing. And the F sharp, you'll notice when I play an F sharp and A, they are actually going to be pretty much the same notes. F sharp is what you would call a natural minor. Any solo you play in an A major, you also sharp minor. You know, the 6 is always going to be your relative minor. The same notes will work on both of those. But I'm going to start this loop back and play over it a little bit, and I'm going to go, when I'm playing in A, the A chord, I'm going to stick to the Ionian mode. When I go into B minor, I'm going to go to the Dorian mode, which means my landing point is no longer A, it's going to be a B note. I'm going to be hitting those B's as my resolve, essentially. And then an F sharp minor, the 6 can kind of be either one. I can play straight out of that F sharp and give it a little different sound, but it's going to be the same notes that would be in the A. So So I did hit a couple of bad notes in there. Sorry, I'm just improvising over this. So he said, I'm just trying to, when I do that chord change, when the loop goes to B minor, I either want to be on that B minor or I want to be on that third that tells me it's a B minor. Because your third note is what determines whether it is a minor or a major. There's your major in this context. If I flat that third note, it's now an A minor. But we'll stick with A major. And like I say, it's not as hard as people make it out to be if you just think of it as you're going to play the exact same notes. You're just going to start on a different note. No matter where you're at in that scale, just play the A scale, but focus more on the chord tones of that chord, which is B, F sharp, and D when we're playing the B minor. If we're going to go to a C sharp minor, focus on hitting the C sharp, the G sharp, and the E. And then you can start adding and, changing things along the way if you want to. You can add in that flat 3. You can add in the flat 7 if you do it in the right way over the right chord. Especially if you're playing, a blues song or something like that. You can kind of jump back and forth between your minor and your major. So I'm going to hit this one more time. And I'm going to still play in those same modes. But instead of just playing straight notes, I'm going to add some bends and slides into it. So, even if you just land on the tonic, your 1, essentially. The B, when you're playing B Dorian, land on a B. When you go into that B chord, hit that B chord. When you go to the F sharp, hit that F sharp. Or like I said, if you can hit the third, I'll go through and instead of hitting the B on each one, when I go to B, I'll go to a D. And on my F sharp, would actually go back to an A. So it's not going to sound that much different. So I would probably stick to there. But I'm going to do it, and on the B, when it goes to the B, I'm going to go to a D, which is the third of my B note. So that's a pretty quick, uncomfortable note. Thanks. That's great. See, this is live. It's how you know I'm not like miming it, because I will hit bad notes. Everybody hits bad notes. Trick is not to try to hit them again. Now, having said all that and shown you landing on the different notes, the basic scale itself, you know it. Like I say, if you know the major scale, you know all your modes. You already know all your modes. And you can play them in the same position. You don't have to learn all the different formations. Can you start it here like a major scale. There it is. The books used to always show you to move to here to start your Dorian mode, which would then be completely different fingerings than what you've been doing. So you can do them all in the same spot, and where you can start jumping around is, here's your A major scale. Here's your A major scale. Here's your A major scale. A major. Oops. Find your A major scale all over the neck. And then if you know your A major scale all over the neck, you know where all those notes are. You can start using those modes, not just here. You can use them up here. A bit of it here, a bit of it here. That's how you start climbing the neck, using all kinds of different formations. Start getting into, you know, that's in one of the modes. It's all, let's say it's all there. If you can learn your A major scale and then learn those modes and when to use them. And the big thing is chord changes. Hit it on the chord change. Oh, nice. Just now saw Rumblefish's thank you. The guitars in the back, they rotate regularly. Unfortunately and fortunately, work in a music store, so the guitars come and go pretty regular. Unfortunately, more stay than go, but occasionally I do trade one. Actually just got this one back in December, I guess. Came in on trade. Very awesome guitar. This is, I don't know if I've played this one on one of the streams yet, but this is my Ernie Ball Sabre. Thanks to Tommy for trading this in and letting me get a hold of it. If anyone is looking for early Christmas presents, I am currently losing my mind over the new Andy Wood Modern Tea Sir in metallic candy apple red. It's Mustang color, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that. But beautiful guitar, but very expensive guitar, but it will happen. Essentially, it would be better to learn all the scale positions rather than, if you can learn all the scale positions, you know all the modes. That, because like I say, they're all within the A major scale. The notes don't change. When you go to a B minor, it's still the A scale. You're just starting on the B note. So if you can learn all your scale positions, and like I say, and knowing when to use those modes and jump out of just a straight A, because like I say, you can play just a straight A major scale. If you're playing, anybody out here that's in a bar band, you've played Tennessee Whiskey. If you've played it, you can play in that A major, but it sounds pretty, at times it doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. But if you go into that Dorian mode where you really focus on that B note and that D note, then it completely changes the sound of that solo. And I would say, not just with A. Don't just learn your A major. Learn all your scales everywhere, and they're digital patterns too. If you look at that A major scale, same fingerings, same spacing. You have your B major, G. So, but yeah, for right now, focus on that A. If you have a looper, if you don't have a looper, you probably got a phone. Record you a pattern, any pattern. Say A, C sharp, F sharp to B minor. Or I'm sorry, A, C sharp minor, F sharp minor to B minor. Record that pattern. Whatever speed you want it. If you're playing metal, record it, a metal sounding track. If you're playing, like I'm doing tonight, just something mellow just to kind of get it all worked in there. Record it, and then just when you play an A, stick in that A mode, and then when you go to your C sharp minor note, start and land with that C sharp, or your 3 note in a C sharp is an E. So if you play that C sharp or the E, especially if you got a bass player, another guitar player, it's going to tell them it's a minor chord. Because if a bass player is playing a C sharp, that's all you're hearing. But if he's playing that, and you hit that E note, that tells the listener that it is a minor. Same with an A. That A could be anything from a bass standpoint. But you throw that C sharp, you know it is a major. If I go to a C, we're in a minor. So that is a quick, well, maybe not quick, 37 minutes, but a rundown of how the modes work. If there's anything, or if you want me to cover a little bit more of this at some point, I'm going to do a couple of videos, short videos of this to pop up on YouTube. And we can do other keys. We may do the minor, actual like A minor scale next week, because the notes get a lot different there. And how to use the modes in the A minor, because there are different modes, when you're playing your minor scale, but they still work the same. You're still playing the same notes. You're just starting on a different note. But it's good to know the major and the minor and be able to recognize it. And most of you probably can. If you hear, that's a minor. And that's happy. My joke is always, major chord, Beatles. Minor chord, Alice in Chains. That's happy, sad, I don't know if I ever heard a happy Alice in Chains song, but I love Alice in Chains for that reason. Alright, let me do this. I'm going to record one more thing here, and just do a kind of jam out to the end. But if you come in late and you're just catching it, the replay will be up there, so you can go through and skip all the crappy parts. Replay's there. If you already have subscribed, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you don't care, just click that little like button, and that helps the channel out. It will help me grow the channel. Getting the likes and the subscribers, you all know this. A bunch of you all probably create content too. And please, if you do, drop your page in the comments there so everybody can go check your stuff out too. I always like to plug other local guys. A lot of the big guys don't need me plugging them. So, but I will plug local bands. If you got a local band, let me know who it is. Local band of the week, I'm going to start doing that. Local band of the week, I would do my band, but you all, most of you know me, so you know my band. And that'd be kind of self-deprecating to is that the right word? I don't know. Sure, why not? But, so, band of the week, the Goodson Brothers. They are some friends of mine out of Bristol. I actually work with one of them. If you dig Blackberry Smoke, Dirty Honey, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, that type of stuff, go check them out. They are on Spotify. I know they're there. They may be other places too, but they are on Spotify. So go check out the Goodson Brothers. They may have some YouTube stuff. If they don't, I will fuss at Brad and tell him he should have some YouTube stuff up. But check the Goodson Brothers out. Really good bunch of guys. They have a bunch of original songs up on Spotify. So go give them a listen. Now, let's record a little backing track here real quick. dark sauce to it. Just a little, and I moved on up in here. Like I said, I didn't stay just in those two, but that's ways you can use the modes. So, thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. We're back every Thursday night. If you have absolutely nothing else to do in your life, and if you don't, I am so sorry. But if you don't, please come back here and hang out with me. If there's anything you want to see me cover, like I said, probably not going to show you a lot of Yngwie, but when it comes to blues, classic rock, some country, the acoustic guitar will come out before long. I'm really getting into the flat picking and the bluegrass stuff again. I was really into it when I was a kid, and honestly, Billy Strings got me back into it. Anybody can say what you want, but dude is killer. So I've been going back and listening to Tony Rice and Mark O'Connor and all those guys like that. Just fantastic. And congratulations to Billy Strings. Won Best Bluegrass Album. That was fantastic. Eric Gales got a Grammy. If you're not familiar with Eric Gales, great blues player. Rock, just a great guitar player, period. Had some music in the Sinners movie on HBO that I'm ashamed to say I have not seen because I heard it has a great soundtrack, but anybody that knows me knows I don't watch a lot of movies. But, and I will just say this about the Grammys, and it ain't none of the political crap. I stay away from that, as much as I can. I can't even remember the name of the band that won Best Hard Rock Metal Performance. Never heard of them, ever. And their competition was like Sleep Token, Dream Theater, and there was somebody else, I can't remember. They're, a more well-known band. I don't know how Sleep Token. I don't personally dig the Sleep Token stuff. It's just not my thing. More power to those guys. They are taking over the world. They have headlined almost every major hard rock metal festival around, and they don't win hard rock metal performance. Something's wrong with that. But all I'm going to say. So, guys, have a fantastic night. This will be posted after I'm done here tonight. So if you want to go back and pull up any of that. One more thing. The Super Bowl is Sunday. And after the Super Bowl is over, that following Monday, I will actually be launching my Patreon. And I will be doing a Sunday live hang on Patreon. It won't be real expensive for that. There's going to be a couple of different tiers. There will be the tier to get some private lessons if anybody's interested in lessons. But we will be doing another type of live hang like this on Patreon, only it'll be face-to-face. It'll be through Zoom. We'll be able to talk to each other. You won't have to push chat. You know, the YouTube feed won't be 30 seconds behind what I'm actually doing. And like I say, it's going to be cheap. I ain't going to charge, what some of the creators charge. Some of it's worth it. Some of them are more than worth it because I pay a couple of them and they are more than worth it. But you guys have a fantastic night. Work on your modes. If you got any questions, email me. Was it Turnstile? Turnstile, yes, that was it. Turnstile. I'm glad somebody knew their name because I do not. So, you guys have a great night. Work on these. If you need anything, shoot me a message. The shirt tonight, Eric Johnson. Got this one, me and Sam Strong, 1168, went and saw him at the Margaret Wortham Theater over in Asheville. Seen him 3 or 4 times now in the last couple of years, and it may sound strange, but he just keeps getting better. Dude's 70-some years old and can play any of us under the table. It's crazy. But you guys have a good night, and you can guess what's in the... Oh, I want to learn to play the whammy bar. Me too. I'll pull the whammy bar. I'll get the PRS or my Charvel or something out one week, and we'll do a bunch of whammy bar tricks. Whether you like them or not will be a different story. Your neighbors and your wife will not. So they might be very useful tips. But you guys have a good night. I will see you again next Thursday night, if not before. Post on Facebook. If we get a bunch of snow tomorrow, I'll probably throw something up and we'll hang out. Or I may throw up a free Zoom meeting. You never know.